Hello everyone, this is Benjamin Ramirez. I'm here still working on the Sicilian wing gambit, the Ramirez variation that I'm pretty much creating. I have a very interesting and different move to go over. I already went over I'll do the moves first. E4, C5, B4, which is the wing gambit, C takes B4, and knight to F3, which is the line that I'm creating. A3 apparently is the normal move that has been played. I like knight to F3. The most common response is knight to C6, so I'm going over these first, and then after I'm finished completing the series of knight to F6, I will be going over other moves. So, after knight to F6, I play D4. That is the line that I always go with. This variation, I already went over D5, E6, and D6. A very interesting line is G6 for the purpose of fianchettoing the bishop. Now, for this, there's different responses you can have. You can have C4, A3, C3, bishop to B2. I'll just, instead of just saying them out, play them out. You can play C4, which is possible. There's A3, which is possible. There's C3, which is possible, which is what I like to play. There's bishop to b2 if you want to counter the fianchetto, which is very possible. There's e2, which is fine if you're looking to castle fast. A3 is even possible, which is always considered bad to move your pawns for no reason. But if you really wanted to wait to see what he's doing, you can. So for me, I like c3. So I'm going to go over c3. The reason why I like it is simply put, is that if he were, after this move here, c3, he can play bishop to g7, which is basically the most normal move, which is what I'm going to be going over. If he wanted, he can play different moves, and I'll be doing that in different videos. But right now I'm going over bishop to g7, okay? Right here. Now, after bishop to g7, obviously he's attacking the diagonal, and your rook is basically, after the two pawns, your rook is basically not going to be, is pretty much under threat. However, it's not an immediate threat, so I would simply capture the bishop, the pawn here, which is a little weird because of your rook placement. So if you play this, obviously you have to be mindful of your rook at all times. Now, the most normal move after this would be knight to b4. Is pretty much the most normal move. Here, after knight to b4, here I play knight to c3, which is the move that I play after that. Obviously your pawn's not going to be taken, he's defended twice, His knight is kind of in your territory, but at any time you can pretty much kick it out for the most part. It's not really going to stay if you go a3 or something. But that's pretty much the most, so that's what I normally play. After knight to c3, it actually is best for him to move his knight back according to Stockfish. However, I don't really know anyone who's actually really going to be doing that. No one's going to be like, oh, I don't move back here because it's the best possible move, No one's going to really think like that in a game. So most likely you will see something like d6 is very possible, or knight to f6, alright? So let's say he plays knight to f6 for any reason, alright? I personally, after something like that, I would play bishop to b3 because of the knight. You would want to kick the knight out of the area. And after kicking the knight out of the area, you basically have pretty much complete center control. Alright, this is actually really good for white, and consider winning by white for a tiny, just a little bit. But that's pretty much what is the best move here, and you have basically complete control over everything. Alright, You can play different moves. You can play e5, you know, bishop to d3. You can play e5 if you wanted. You can play bishop to d3. I personally would prefer bishop to d3 because of castling, you know, or you can play bishop to e2. But right now you're pretty well developed and you're okay, you know. This is and knight to g5 is a premature attack, and it's pretty much a mistake. You don't want to do that here. Black can simply just castle, and if he decided to continue to develop, let's say, you know, bishop to, you know, e3 or something. Let's say he decided to just develop here. You know, black can start counterattacking, and your knight is misplaced at the same time. You know, so that's not very, you know, it's just not very good. But it's, so I wouldn't do that. So I would simply develop or push my pawns up. That's pretty much what I would do. I normally play moves like bishop to a3, is what I normally play in a lot of the videos. However, in this system with the bishop where it's at, I don't really recommend it, because he can castle and it's not going to obstruct his castling. It's not going to cause the same problems as it normally would in other situations. So that's pretty much it for the beginning part. Let me go back. I'm looking over everything real quick. I'm sorry about that. After c takes b4, I went over a little bit about the knight capturing. Now instead of knight capturing, you can see queen to b6 to pretty much help aid the bishop. Now you have 3 pieces on your pawn, and you have 2 defenders. So that's pretty much what you have going on after queen to b6. Yeah, queen to b6. After that, I would simply play bishop to e3 to basically pile up on the pawn. It's a developing move. It's kind of defensive, so it's not in a really good. It's solid, it's defensive, and it's not really putting yourself at risk in any way. That's pretty much what I would play. I have to erase what I wrote down. I put bishop e6, so I was almost a little confused. I gotta change my notes real quick. I don't know why I wrote down the wrong letter. Bishop to e3 is the one. Now here you can see a few different ideas. I mean, you might see d5, but queen to b4 is the most common. And I'll go over that because it also involves check on top of that. Now after queen to b4, you basically have to move your bishop back. So you moved it twice, which is not very comfortable. Now you have 3 attackers on the pawn and 2 defenders. So it looks like, and in a way it does look horrible, even though it's actually not horrible. Alright. The queen is under attack, so he can't simply capture the pawn. So black can actually just simply go back if he wanted and renew his threat again against it, because now you have all these pawns against him. I would simply play knight to c3 here, because if he captures, let's say he captures, all right, he piled up and looks all crazy, you know, he captures. You can actually play knight to d5 and target his queen. And basically the threat of causing all this, you know what I'm saying, he can't he can't simply call check and have your knight. Okay? He can't do that. You will simply just capture the knight back, and then he has to answer the threat to his queen. And let's say he defends his queen for any reason. Let's say he moves his queen back. Well, now you can just move your rook. So it looks like a huge pile up, but it's not a real threat. It just looks bad at a first glance. So it's not really actually a bad thing. So that's why he won't capture if he knows what he's doing. But if he finds someone in this situation who's piled up and using chess principles and doesn't calculate, well, after this, you simply just threaten his queen. And the best thing he can do is actually most likely see somebody move back here. That's most likely what you would see. And you can capture the knight after that. And the bishop can capture the rook. And you can go to c1. And now you're threatening, you know, after the bishop captures, you can go to c1. And now you're threatening a check. You know, and any normal person would defend it. But you have a, and if they don't defend it, then obviously you're winning a piece. So based upon chess principles, this opening looks a little weird, but in all honesty, it works out just fine. If you because of the tactics that are involved. So a lot of people that look at this, they probably won't like it, but you're safe. And not only are you safe, if someone tries to take advantage of it, they're going to be in trouble. So this one's a little trickier. That's basically after the bishop move, if they move the queen instead of capturing the pawn with the knight. This one's a little trickier, but you're pretty much safe. And after knight to c3, the best move for black is to basically capture the pawn here. And after black captures the pawn here, you will still do this. It's just not as, you know what I'm saying? So it's pretty much not going to cause you a problem, you know? But after black captures the pawn and you go to d5, it's not, you know what I'm saying? He can basically move over and call a check. You know? Queen captures here, and he's not going to be able to capture the rook because you'll take the queen. Okay? So that's definitely not going to happen. After you capture, he's going to have to move his queen to answer for that. Most people might just move the queen back, and then you can move your rook. If someone decides to, let's say, attack, they can go, let's say, here, which is safe for the queen. The queen is still safe here, and he's being an aggressive player. You can simply move your rook over to d1. And here is something really interesting. If he decides to capture the pawn here, that's a very huge mistake, obviously, because you get the rook. All right. So he has to defend first. He can't simply just capture the pawn. All right. That's basically, you know, he's going to have to make a move to defend it. And that right there is pretty solid. Okay. And you guys are pretty much even position. It's not horrible really for either side. This is actually a pretty good setup. Me personally, I prefer bishop to c4. If you want to continue your threats, you can go after his bishop. And after he captures and you capture, you're pretty much renewing the threat again. And he will lose his castle. He will. He has to move. He will lose his castle. So in this opening, if he tries these things, it looks super weird and bad for you in the beginning, but after you play it out, it's actually really good for white. So this is actually really would trip up any opponent that doesn't understand it very well and plays the bishop to g7. there's a lot of stuff that, like I said, it looks a little weird, but if he plays queen to b6, he could run into that. So just if you play this opening and someone plays g7, you're really gonna have to remember that, because it's very it's pretty complex, and you're pretty much can't break even, and it looks horrible for white until you actually finish out your moves and you're perfectly safe. So if you play this out and someone plays queen to b6, that's pretty much knight to c3 is the very really good move here, even though it looks crazy. All right. Now, if you're weird about something, let's say you don't like doing that, or you don't want to do something like that, and you want to avoid everything, you can go here instead. Okay. So definitely look into knight to c6. Learn it, try to remember it, look at all the tactics and details, go over the whole entire thing. It's really important to do. Somebody, instead of capturing the pawn, somebody actually can try to go here first, but it's defended a lot. I mean, you still can go over pretty much the same moves. The difference is you have a pawn that you normally wouldn't have. That's pretty much the difference. So if he captures a pawn, you're in the same situation with a pawn down. If he doesn't capture the pawn, he's in the same situation with a pawn up. You know? And your bishop will belong here at this point because of the threat. He has to defend it, and you're c1. So it's you know. And how can he defend it? How is he gonna be able to defend how is he gonna defend the c7 square, right? He pretty much can't. So he pretty much loses his castle if he plays queen to b6. Even though it looks, like I said, when you started off, it's looking bad for you, but it really isn't. So just keep that in mind if you're interested in playing this opening. If you encounter g7 and then later on queen to b6, okay? There's a lot of tricks involved with that, but you are fine. You are safe. And if you have any other moves that you think might be bad for white in this variation and you don't think I covered everything, send me a message, write something down. Please, please, please tell me which number it is. For example, I'm going to go back a little bit. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I'm sorry. This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Move 6 for black is queen to b6. Make sure to add, the move that you believe after this point. When I study knight to c, this is number 7. Make sure to add which number it is. On move number 7 for black, or on move 8 for black, what if black does this? And I can answer you as best as I can. If you just say just castle or just do this or attack the queen, I have no idea what you're talking about, because there's many moments where you can attack a piece. So you need to let me know in the notation of when that is, so I can answer you back in a chess manner. So there are the first two parts of g6. One is knight takes. One is knight takes here. I'm sorry. One is knight takes, and the other one I went over is queen going here. After knight to c3, I went over the idea of this and also that. So that's two parts of it. So if you haven't liked or subscribed yet, please like and subscribe. I'm going to do videos. I wanted to do one every day, but I've been doing every other day, every 3 days. I've been kind of, going over my stuff a little bit more, trying to give you better ideas and reasons of why, instead of just simply saying this is a good move. Kind of going over it a little bit more thoroughly. At some point, I may go over the original ones in the beginning to do the same. But for right now, I just want to get out the full set of the variation, including knight to... Basically, I want to go over e4, c5, b4, c takes b4, knight to f3, knight to c6. I want to first get over all of these ones. There's a lot of moves besides knight to c6, but once I get out all the ones involving that move, then I might go over the other ones in the future. So hope you guys like the video. If you do, hit like on it. Subscribe. I'm gonna keep updating them and talking about the moves. Questions are perfectly fine. Like I said, if you're gonna ask me questions, I'd greatly appreciate the move order. Because if you're like just castle or just do this or just do that, I am not gonna know what you're talking about because there's so many moves, and it's not live stream, so I'm not seeing the comments as I'm playing it. I'm seeing the comments after the video was uploaded. So, alright, thank you for your time. I went over, I think, a pretty good amount of it. So if you play it, let me know how it works. And there's one trick that I have not, that it's not really a trick per se, but there's one thing I've noticed too is very common for players in Bullet, is if you play b4, they simply play knight to c6 because they already pre-moved, because the Sicilian is a very common opening. That will happen. Your best bet, if you play this opening and someone does this, your best bet is to simply push the pawn up. That is your best bet. And I'm gonna probably go over this at some point. But before I do, I want to make sure there's like 5 or 6 people maybe trying it, and I'll go over like what to do about what in situations, because I can tell you what I think, but I like to also go over a lot of real life situations, But for me, this is what I've encountered when it came to that. This is what I've encountered, and it's pretty much, he is completely like out of, this is pretty much what I've encountered, and he's pretty much in a really weird spot. It's not necessarily bad, but it's definitely super weird for him, and after going over my games, I can play this move here, I can play f3, I can do other stuff, but I'll go over that more later at some point. But I'm gonna go. Just like and subscribe, and thank you for watching. All right, it's Wing Gambit. I guess I'll call it the Ramirez system. I hope it sticks. And the Ramirez system would be, to be clear on what I basically calling the Ramirez system, is after he captures, knight to f3. That's basically Ramirez system. I'm going to be going over all kinds of moves. This move, I'm going to be going over this move, this move. I'm going to be going over like everything after this, okay? And that's pretty much what I want to basically call at this point the Ramirez system. So thank you for your time. And don't forget to like and subscribe, and also please give me feedback. I've seen some people try to give me feedback, but it's always been stuff that I cannot really interact with, because I need to know which move you're talking about so I can accurately talk to you about it. All right, thank you.